Senators grilled acting Attorney General Todd Blanche today over the Justice Department's nearly $1.8 billion fund to compensate people who claim they were politically targeted. Blanche would not rule out whether people part of the January 6th insurrection are eligible, but he clarified the president's family would not receive money. CBS News correspondent Natalie reports.
Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche testifying before the Senate Appropriations Committee faced questions about a newly announced DOJ fund to compensate those who claim they were unfairly targeted by the previous administration.
You had an administration seek to destroy the previous administration.
The nearly $1.8 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund is part of a settlement of President Trump's lawsuit against the IRS over the leak of his tax returns in 2020.
President Trump is the first president to sue his own government and then direct his chosen acting attorney general to reach this kind of settlement.
What you just said is not true. I mean, if I can correct that.
Please.
The president did not direct me to do anything.
The Department of Justice says it's designed to provide monetary relief to those who suffered weaponization and lawfare at the hands of the Biden administration. Democrats are blasting the fund as unconstitutional, arguing it will be used to enrich the president's supporters. Even Senate Majority Leader John Thune said he's not a fan of it.
I think that there are and will be, continue to be, a lot of questions around that the administration is going to have to answer.
The money from the fund will be administered by a commission of 5 members appointed by the Attorney General, a role currently held by Todd Blanche, Trump's former personal attorney.
He will make suggestions to you.
I have no idea if we will or not.
I would be shocked if he didn't tell you exactly who to put on, and I'd be more shocked if you did not put them on.
Nearly 100 House Democrats have signed a legal brief urging a judge to block the fund. Natalie, CBS News, the White House.
Our Caitlin Huey-Burns was at the White House today and asked Vice President J.D. Vance about the cost of that fund.
What do you say to Americans who wonder why this fund is getting all this money and I can't afford basic life amenities?
Well, let me say a couple things about that. First of all, you said $1.8 billion, and it's important for people to realize we're not just writing a $1.8 billion check. We're going to take a lot of people who are going to apply and say that they have been mistreated by their government. We're going to handle those situations case by case. And if we determine they were, in fact, mistreated by their government, we think it's reasonable to give them just compensation.
CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns joins us now. And Caitlin, in his responses today on these affordability questions, I heard we've eliminated taxes on Social Security, overtime, and tips, and we believe these elevated gas prices are going to come down when the war is over. We don't know when that's going to be. Other than that, I didn't hear a ton of answers about what they are doing to help Americans dealing with high costs right now.
And Lindsay, that's why I asked this question, because what stood out to me yesterday when this news broke of this Justice Department fund, this anti-weaponization fund being $1.8 billion. I was thinking about lots of voters that we've been talking to on the campaign trail over the past couple of months who have been saying that they are really struggling to pay for higher gas, to pay for grocery prices that have increased, and wondering why this is all happening. And we saw that in our recent CBS News poll that came out over the weekend, that a vast majority of respondents, of Americans, were saying that they don't believe that this administration's policies are impacting them in a good way economically, or not helping them economically. And, you know, the economy has always been the president's calling card, something that he had been doing well on, something he campaigned on. And so the question remains, how does this really kind of make sense to have this kind of thing when others are struggling? Now, the vice president said to me, essentially, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. He pointed to the one big beautiful bill that included lots of tax cuts. But some voters that I've been talking to say that, yes, those tax cuts are great, but they are also wiped out by having to pay more for groceries and for gasoline. And we've seen that also reflected in our polling. And this is something that the administration has to deal with, but it's also something that Republicans, by and large, on the campaign trail have to deal with and have to explain to constituents, because they are all up for re-election in just a few months here.
And if the vice president and president are tying these higher prices to the war, what are we hearing about in terms of when we could see a resolution?
Yeah, it's still a big question mark, Lindsay. The vice president today, and remember, he had been involved in these talks. He had gone to Islamabad recently. He says that they're still talking. He says that he believes Iran wants a deal, but noted that nothing is known until there's actually a signing of a paper, of an agreement, and that still seems far off. So we also know that the president today told reporters that he was an hour away from calling on strikes on Iran before others in the region got involved and asked him to consider some of the proposals on the table. So the deal remains to be seen. But again, going to our polling, voters are saying, Americans are saying that they need more clarity as to when the strait would be reopen, when those gas prices could come down. And the administration is saying this is a temporary thing, but remains to be seen when the end game is, what the end game is.
Caitlin Huey-Burns from breezy North Lawn. Thank you.